Today we're here with Amy Harris, who started her wealth building journey with us, purchasing her first home at 24 years old, and 6 years later is on track to have a net worth of $1 million.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So let's break down your story and how you got started and where you are now.
Yeah.
So take us back to when you were 24 years old.
Yeah.
What did your life look like at that point?
Oh, it looks so different to now. So I was 24, I was at uni, I was studying a Bachelor of Business. I really wanted to work in the travel industry, like be a flight attendant or travel for a job or something like that. I was working part-time just to, I guess, pay my bills while I was going through uni.
Then COVID hit, and that travel career that you'd been working towards, it somewhat disappeared overnight.
Yeah.
So what was going through your head at that stage and what did you decide to do?
Yeah, it really did flip my world, the COVID thing. Obviously, the travel industry closed, and I was just about to finish my degree in tourism and then hopefully go into a travel career. So I ended up enrolling in another uni degree that was more of like a corporate job. And then I guess I started to think about like, I want a job that gets me money because now I'm like just stuck in Australia. I can't do anything, like I want money.
So in the middle of all that uncertainty,
Yeah.
you had COVID, you had your career pivoting and you were still studying,
Hmm.
you decided to purchase a property.
Yeah.
So why then?
Well, it was completely random actually. And like I said in my first answer, I didn't really care about savings or investing. And COVID only really was the first time that I thought that I actually wanted like money. So when COVID hit and all the government grants started to come out in the property space, my mum said to me, like, now is a really good time to buy a house if you want to make money. I think my mum ended up gifting me about $40,000 to go buy a block of land. And then we also used the government grants. And I think I had bought and exchanged on land that same week that we started looking.
You said you got some support from your mum,
Mhm.
so she gave you $40,000 to
Yeah.
help you buy that property.
Yeah.
Tell us about that block that you actually ended up purchasing, because from what I remember, it wasn't exactly the dream property that most people would want.
No, definitely not. And I think that's mainly due to the fact that like I didn't make a good income. So the $40,000 and the government grants, yes, that helped me get a foot in the door, but I still needed to service a loan on my Hoyt's income. I just wanted to make money. And with my mum saying that like now's a perfect time to get into the property market and build wealth, I didn't really care because I knew that like it was going to serve a purpose.
Yeah, okay. So this block wasn't really the perfect block and had a lot of restrictions to it. But eventually you do have to build on that block if you're wanting to sell it.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking going into that build and what were you looking for?
Yeah, so I really wanted to just be able to put a house that would get the most resale off it. Like I knew it wasn't going to be my forever home. So I really wanted to work with the builders to make sure that I could get a 4-bedroom house on it. The block was in Gilliston Heights, which is a suburb where a lot of families live. So I really tried to make the house catered to families, not to specifically what I wanted, but what a family that would buy it after me would look for and want. And that's mainly the main thing I was looking at. Also just trying to keep costs down as much as possible with making it look as good as possible for resale.
So you mentioned that you found a block that was roughly 150,000.
Yeah.
And how did you find that? Because that seems crazy.
I know that seems crazy, but this was, you got to remember, in 2020. In Gilliston Heights in 2020, the blocks were around maybe like 200 to 220,000, maybe even like 250. So like the perfect block in Gilliston Heights, like just your standard, would probably be, yeah, like 200, 220. So the 150 wasn't that dissimilar to an average block, but it was a slight discount.
And so you still weren't making that much money. So once that build was done, how did you actually afford to live there and stay there?
Great question. I definitely couldn't have afforded it on my own. So what I looked to do instead is I actually had 4 people move into the house with me. So
Yeah, well,
shared with 5 people and they helped me pay the mortgage. Just like having boarders, like having roommates as a uni student, but you owned the house.
That's already a few good tips. Buying cheap just to get into the market, but that doesn't take you all the way to that $1 million net worth. What steps did you then look at next to continue on your property journey?
Yeah, well, obviously my income was the first problem. As a uni graduate, you're still on a pretty bad salary, not making that much to go buy another property or anything like that. I moved jobs 3 times into like $110,000 job.
And off the back of Gilliston and you were looking into your next steps, you then committed to an off the plan purchase. And so that's a little bit scary, but walk us through like what you were thinking at that time and why you ended up deciding that an off the plan purchase was the way to go.
Yeah, well, something really exciting about Gilliston, and I think it's where everyone gets the bug for the property market, is the property went up in value and it went up quite quickly, which created some equity in Gilliston. The off the plan purchase came up as an opportunity. When you buy an off the plan property, you can just put down an initial deposit, but then you don't have to pay for that property until it's built. So I had like 2 years until I had to pay for that property. So I didn't need to have the money for the purchase. It gave me the time to, I guess, get all my ducks in a row, but still have something working for me in the market. And that's kind of why I went down that.
Okay, so you're now 3.5 years roughly on from buying your first home.
Yeah.
And you're up to roughly $500,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
So what's the next step from there?
Yeah, well, my partner is a carpenter. So we were looking at old houses that we could buy in Newcastle that we could renovate and flip and then sell for a profit. So still looking at what we could do to continue to create money through property. We were always looking in Newcastle, and then an opportunity came up in Stockton, which was an old house on a really big block. We went and looked at it. It kind of ticked all the boxes. The real estate agent said to us, you could probably end up doing a development down the back as well because it qualifies for a subdivision.
Build your wealth over such a short period of time while still continuing to travel, completing 2 degrees, building a career and a business. So how do you balance your work life and actually living your life and building your wealth?
It definitely is an ongoing balance, but one of my favorite things about the property market is it really does just tick in the background. Like, I feel like the demand of the property isn't as much as like building a business. Maybe in like 2 years' time, I could have a house paid off that I don't have to pay a mortgage for, which means I could go like live my dreams, go travel while having a house here that gets rented out and could potentially pay me income because I'm not paying a mortgage. Your work, you show up every day and you have to give like your time to get money, whereas the property, it does its thing in the background and then creates all this wealth. So it's kind of like a little side hustle that makes you money while you're still working.
Yeah.
So it's just such a great tool, I think, to build your wealth.
Some people might say that you got lucky. You had $40,000 gift from your parents.
Yeah.
And what do you say to that?
Yeah, the $40,000 was definitely a great help, but that was just the beginning. And everything after that has been decisions and hard work and strategy and surrounding yourself with the right people. I'd say like it was definitely a lucky start, but everything else has been manufactured luck that I've created.
You're now 30 years old. What do your goals look like now?
Yeah, still building wealth. I think my end goal is to have a house that I'm happy and comfortable with, that's fully paid off, no debt, that I can go travel. I don't need to be so stressed about working because I've got a house that can pay me an income while I go travel.
And last question for you. What would you say to a 24-year-old or just someone who's looking to purchase their first property?
I would say that if you're looking to buy your first property, the goal shouldn't just be, I want to buy my first property. It should be more longer term thinking, like, what is this property going to do for me? For me, it was never really about buying a house at all. It was about wanting to have enough money to fund the life that I want. And I'm only using the property market to make that money so that I can live the life that I want.
And as your journey now continues, if people want to continue to follow on that journey, how can they find you?
Yeah, I'm documenting the whole renovation and development process on my work Instagram. So it's Amy_in financial services. So you can watch on there. I do videos and little updates on how we're going.
Okay, so thank you, Amy, for joining us and going through your story on how you managed to build your wealth over such a short time frame. I think your key message today, and especially that last piece of advice is really helpful with first home buyers and shifting their mindset, which I think is really powerful and a great way to create wealth and achieve that life that you want much quicker. Thank you for coming on today and
No
sharing your
problem.
advice.